One of the many radio friends says that this transcribed program is as unpredictable as lightning, filled with swift surprises that every character is as real as if he stepped right into your home. Let's listen and find out, shall we?
That's me, varnishing the beams that were just freshly sanded in what will one day be the living room of our floating home. Over there, beneath the boat, is Aladino, setting up his tools to finely shape a cabinet door. We are refitting an old boat. It's a Cape George Cutter 36, a boat designed for the blue ocean, a boat with a lot of beauty and a lot of soul, and also just a lot of needs. We're on year 4 of the refit now, approaching the end, but far from being there. But the fact that we're now working on beautifying the boat rather than tearing it apart is definitely a bit more motivating.
All right, I'm pretty pleased.
Hello everyone, and welcome back. Our deck head looks a bit kaleidoscopic at the moment because we have all sorts of tape masking everything off. In the last episode, Aladino did an amazing job painting the overhead, this beautiful white, the 9010 from Epiphanes. And now we're going to go ahead with varnishing the beams. So big transformation coming up very soon.
I have added some things here which will be part of Maya's varnishing, just trying to have it all complete. There's this piece of trim added and the 2 handrails, so since she will be doing the overhead, it ties together here, so it's better to have it all in one place this time. Epoxy is curing. I still have to put in 2 bungs, but yeah, just one more step. One step more complete.
All right, next day, everything is dry. It's looking good. I mean, first coat is never like the one to create the biggest wow effect because it sort of soaks a bit unevenly here and there. But I will say I'm really happy that I did all the effort to take the stain off these beams. The two-tone effect does really look nice, especially once we get the satin varnish on. You know, I think that just makes the biggest difference ever. So, no, I'm really happy.
These 2 cabinet doors that I've been working on a little bit already. So I've sanded everything after gluing them together, and I brought the router table over, so that allowed me to make this groove, which is where the doors are set into the frame. So basically we are replicating this one here. So the next steps are rounding over the outside corners, the inside corner. Well, and then I'm also removing some material here to put in the panel, because we're not gonna do the wicker. We're gonna put in a panel of Alaska yellow cedar, so we gotta make room for that to slide in. And yeah, it's going pretty well. I'm pretty pleased.
I hope you enjoyed that song. It was a song that actually came about as a bit of an unexpected collaboration. A little while ago, I decided to post a little bit of music on TikTok and ended up finding this really wonderful pianist who suggested doing a collaboration on a song together. So we did this collaboration and it was just really, really, I don't know, soul nourishing to get to work with another musician again and play some music and share it with you guys. So if you want to listen to the song, it's called Midnight Moon. It's on Spotify, all the others. And it's released in collaboration between myself, Maya Eliza, and Kaylin DeJulio, who also has music on Spotify and all the other platforms. Yeah, huge thank you, you guys, for all the nice comments about my music. It really, like, I don't know, it brings me a lot of joy. So thank you.
A router table can be used for many applications. I rarely do cabinet making like this myself, so I have only the very basic knowledge myself. But it is certainly very handy to round corners or add rabbets and things like that. You could make a router table, but it's definitely handy to have one like this that already has all the adjustments and settings all in one piece, so you can really easily hook up a vacuum to it or adjust the height of the router bit. I still have a thing that I still approach routers carefully because I had router bits fly around my ears in the past, but yeah, just approach it carefully and they do wonderful work. All right, I'm pretty pleased. It's not perfect, but that's what we're trying to go for here. We're trying to reproduce a 40-year-old character. So next, since there's going to be the AYC panel that fills it in here, it has to have a groove to go into, and that one will be here.
Okay, update on the shed. So it's been a month now. 1 month since the yard came to us and told us that we have to take our shed down in a month. So technically we should be taking our shed down. We are far enough along that this would not be the end of the world if we had to take it down tomorrow. But it's of course a lot nicer to keep it up for as long as we can. Now basically there's a boat in front of us which is taking quite a while on its refit. And in order to get us out of our spot, they would have to move that boat, and I just don't think they will. I'm actually almost certain that they won't until that boat is actually ready to be moved. So, you know, we've been talking to the guy with the boat in front of us, and he's got several more weeks, probably a month or so, left. And so I think we basically have that amount of time to keep the shed up. There have been no more sort of discussions between us and the yard. I know some people commented last time and was like, does the yard watch your videos? I don't think they do. If they do, they've certainly made no effort to tell us that or, you know, anything. It's a bit of this gray area situation, but we're just going to leave the tent up until it becomes a problem, and then we can take it down. We try to be very nice and reasonable people. We always pay our bills on time, so we're just going to, you know, keep coasting through, and it will all work out okay.
Oh, I'm so pleased. It's not often I get to make teak sawdust. I love it. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with these too. I'm not a cabinet maker by any means. I don't have enough practice, so yeah, getting to do this again and getting results that I'm happy with is a bonus. If you show them to a cabinet maker, then he sees all sorts of mistakes. So I did the groove on the inside, and they're both about the same size, so when we cut panels, we can make panels, and if they need a little more taken off, we just take the hand plane, but then the panel goes in there. And then I took a chisel just to do, to transform the round edge into a square one. And now I'm just giving it a final touch of with the sandpaper. This will go on pause again for a bit, but yeah, I'm happy that I have the doors made. But more pressing is the engine room, and for that, Brian came to help us. Yay! Brian is back!
Back again. Yeah, made my appearance once more.
Last time you went away with a template.
With the template.
And you came back with the actual piece now.
Okay, so we made this template.
Yeah.
This is where the thrust bearing is going to bolt up to, and the propeller shaft is going to, and the coupling is going to bolt up to that. And then all the force of the propeller is pushing against this, and this is going to be rigidly mounted in with fiberglass into the hull.
Yeah.
So all the thrust from the propeller is transferred to the hull through this bulkhead. This bulkhead keeps everything in perfect axial alignment from here through the cutlass bearing out to the propeller, so there's never going to be any vibration bouncing around on that part. And then the engine on the other side of it can do its own thing and bounce around as much as it wants. And all that vibration is going to be taken up by the universal, or by the CV joints in the drive shaft of the Aquadrive.
Yeah, which stands for constant velocity joint.
And then here is the nice big thick piece of aluminum. That's the aft face.
1/2-inch marine grade aluminum. That's what we opted to choose.
Very nice, and it made a very big mess of my patio, but it came out perfect.
Nice. Beautiful. If you remember, last time we introduced a little device that locked the shaft in its perfect location, so that is still in place. Now we have to bolt all the components together, completing the drivetrain, so that we can glue the aluminum plate to the hull and then eventually do the fiberglassing around them. But in order to remove the shaft again later, for that we need a what is it called?
A puller.
Oh, a puller. Yeah, it's a puller of sorts. Yeah.
But because there's limited space, typically a puller has 2 or 3 jaws that clamp on, and then it's bridged with one big bolt going through that drives the coupling or the flange off of the shaft. Because we were limited in space, then here is our shaft coupling, and I made this little puller here, which is very thin. You can see it has a nut welded into a hole, central hole, and that then gets bolted onto the shaft coupling, and then the whole works gets bolted together. And these two bolts I left long so that when we're pulling the coupling off of the shaft, driving it with this middle big bolt, then it's going to try and turn the shaft at the same time. So then we can just get a bar and put it in between those two bolts and hold the torque of us driving it.
Nice.
So it's going to work like a charm, and we're going to try it out, give it a first run, first trial today.
So what you saw us do there in that time lapse is basically do a test run of the new puller, and it worked the charm.
Yeah, it worked great.
Compared to the first time where we hammered everything together and then apart with brute force.
Yeah, and a fair bit of ignorance involved in that as well. And we were actually forewarned, Scott forewarned us that these types of couplings are very difficult to remove, and he wasn't wrong. This coupling actually, it fought us every step of the way. Last quarter inch, we were still pushing it off with pulling it off with the puller.
Yeah, so. Even with the puller. Yeah. And I really like that you added 2 longer bolts, and as you can see in the time lapse too, Brian is holding it with, well, just any bar, but stopping the whole thing from rotating, which is exactly the same concept once it is installed in place, since the shaft wants to rotate, but the 2 longer bolts can lock it nicely. And I'm just using the crescent wrench onto this one. Now onto the next step. Before assembling it all, here is the bulkhead. Now we opted to go with aluminum because it is what was easiest for us to source. And since it is aluminum, there is stainless steel washers that will be in contact with this, or we want to avoid that. So one more piece of the puzzle is little plastic washers that we just made, and that's just to isolate aluminum from stainless steel, of course. Next step is bolting everything to the plate, and then putting in the shaft and having it where it belongs. Okay, now we've assembled the whole unit. This is what it looks like: shaft, coupling, thrust bearing, and our bulkhead. A few important things are, of course, when the thrust bearing is bolted onto the bulkhead, there is a rubber bushing inside, and depending on how much you torque these bolts, or if you torque them differently, then the plate might be distorted, and it's very important to have the bulkhead perpendicular. So the recommendation is using a torque wrench. We don't have one right now, so what we did instead is we measured the distance with a caliper on both sides, and that should give us similar results. Now we will bring a torque wrench when it's about the final installation. So now it's time to slide the whole contraption in for good. It's going to be the last time.
Try and hold the angle right.
Should I get out of the way so you can see it a bit? Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you'll be out of the way of the thrust bearing too.
Yeah. Okay. We have to start here.
Okay.
Lift it a bit. Yeah. Oh.
Rudder.
Should I go or do you go?
I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the shaft is too long, of course, still, because it's the original one, and the engine was not that the engine was more forward, but, well, yeah, it was. The transmission was, at least. So now it's touching the rudder. So Brian's going down, removing the rudder, or moving the rudder, and then we can push it further. There we go.
Yay.
Okay. It's really nice to have Brian's help. It makes the work more fun, and he has lifelong experience in the field. So really value his expertise, recommendations, experience gained in the field, and just a lot of fun to work with him.
What you doing, Deanie?
Securing the rudder. It's very critical that we don't touch the shaft anymore, because everything's connected to it. If we bump it, that changes the alignment of our bulkhead. So it's critical that this isn't disturbed until the bulkhead is bonded into place.
I am taking my leave, heading back to little home in Gibson's.
Yay. Thank you so much for coming, Dad.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'm really
appreciate it.
glad that the bulkhead worked out well.
Yeah.
And that Aladino is going to spend a couple hours this afternoon epoxying it in place initially, and then putting all the putting all the fiberglass reinforcing in to make it the strongest thrust bulkhead on any Cape George.
Nice. Wonderful. All right, Dad. Safe travels home. Thanks for coming.
Yep,
See you
you
next
bet.
time.
And I'll see you again. We'll make
Well,
another.
and you've still
we'll
got
make another
homework,
date.
right?
What?
You've still got homework, don't you?
I have homework. Yes, I have the cap rails. The cap rails had a bunch of countersunk holes for original bolts that were there, and they had cutouts for
The old chain plates.
the old chain plates.
Which were on the inside, yeah.
So I've fixed all the countersunk bolt holes with a graving block, and now I'm making another graving piece for where the chain plate cutout was.
We'll show that next time.
Yeah, my homework.
Perfect. Thanks, Dad.
Okay, you bet.
By the way, I should mention, whenever we have a video with you, there's always a few people who ask if Deanie and I are really, really tiny people. We're not that tiny.
No. Yeah. I'm 5'9", I think.
You're
5'10".
5'10",
Oh,
I'm
right.
5'9". You're 6'5", so you're the outlier.
No, actually now I am 6'3.5", and at one point in my life I was 6'5".
Wow.
I've lost 1.25 inches.
We
So
better get doing some yoga, Dad. Stretch that spine out.
no, it's the burden of being a father.
Oh, great. Yeah, I love that.
It's the heavy,
That's
the
good.
weight and responsibility.
Oh.
it's the heavy thoughts.
Yeah, I'm a real trouble.
The weight, yes, the weight.
Bye.
See ya.
I also just so appreciate my dad coming out here and helping us. My dad helped me a lot with my first boat, Curlew. That was a gorgeous wooden boat that I got when I was 18, before I met Aladino, for $1 from some random strangers who I've to this day never met. And a lot of you I know who watch the channel are familiar with that story, but it was just a beautiful and crazy chapter of life, and I made a little 4-part series on YouTube about it, like a while ago. So if you're interested in that story, it exists on YouTube, but my dad was a really big part of that story as well. And it's really special to have his help here. So huge thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. An extra big thank you to our subscribers for watching every week. We so appreciate you being here on the journey. Leave us a comment letting us know what you think. We do read them all, even if we don't get back to them all, but we do read them all. And an extra big thanks to our patrons who really make this project possible. If you're interested in real-time updates, we provide those on Patreon every single week. We let you know what's actually happening in real time because, of course, these YouTube episodes take me a bit of time. They don't exist in real time. But yeah, the Patreon updates do every week, and those are Patreon exclusive, never published anywhere else. Extra big thanks to the folks whose names are now appearing on screen for always going above and beyond to ensure the continuation of this project to a successful completion. And we'll see you all next Friday. Bye, everyone.